Here we have our explanation writing lesson for today. So we are carrying on with our informative writing, and today we're looking at explanations. So what do you think an explanation might be? So what is it? It tells us how something works or gives us information about it. Some examples. So for example, we have got three different examples here. Can you have a look at them and see what they are? So over on this side, on the right hand side here, we have got my favorite dish, pepperoni pasta. Now, what is that? What type of information writing is that? It is a recipe, isn't it? Okay, so it's explaining how to make pepperoni pasta. So that's an explanation again. So well done for that one. And in the middle, what have we got here? Now we've made quite a few of these so far. They are informative posters, okay? So they're posters all about something. And what are they all about? What is this one all about? Who is it all about, should I say? Have a look closely at the poster. Who is it all about? It's about Roald Dahl, isn't it? Okay. And to make sure that they've got lots of information on there, they've thought about when he was born, how he died, any previous jobs he had, and his books. And we also have another example on here. Another example is a holiday brochure. So you would need to know all about holidays, wouldn't you, for this one? And it would help you decide what holiday to go on to. So all three of these are perfect examples of explanation writing, writing that's given us some information. So step one for writing, you always need to tell the reader what you are going to talk about. So if you are talking about a big giant dog, you would need to say, I'm talking about a big giant dog. So you need to let the reader know what you're talking about. That's the very first thing that you do, especially if the big giant dog was sitting on a laughing log. You would need to tell them about that. So if you're talking about a giant dog that's sitting on a laughing log, you would need to say that your writing is all about a giant dog who's sitting on top of a laughing log, especially if there was dancing frogs around. So if there was dancing frogs around this laughing log and the dog, then you would need to tell them that too. So that is the start of our information writing today. So this is how the dog sits on a log with all of those dancing frogs. So that's how you would open up your writing. So if you were writing all about a dog on a log with lots of dancing frogs, that's how you could open it. This is how the dog sits on a log with all of those dancing frogs. Now your step two is to explain what happened and how it works. So you've told us what you're going to talk about. You've told us that you're going to talk about the dog on a log with all of the dancing frogs. But now you need to tell me how that happened and how it works. So this is how the dog sits on a log with all of those dancing frogs. First, he climbs up onto the log. Next, he gets into the sitting position. After that, he commands the frogs to start dancing. Finally, he sits perfectly still so he doesn't fall off. How can we make this writing even better? So we have got our writing here. I have told you exactly what you can see in the picture. So we'll read it again together. So this is how the dog sits on a log with all of those dancing frogs. First, he climbs onto the log. Next, he gets into the sitting position. And after that, he commands the frogs to start dancing. And finally, he sits perfectly still so he doesn't fall off. Now, I would like you to pause this video now, and I would like you to think about all of the different ways that you can make this writing even better. Now, last week we looked at things like adjectives to make your writing even better, and adding in that little extra bit of information to make it more interesting. So pause it now and see if you can come up with some ideas. So now that you've paused the video, let's have a look and see what we could do with this writing. So all of the black words is what we had before, and I've added in some extra words in red. So let's see if you can find where we've added the extra information. So step two, remember, is telling us how something happened. So you've introduced it and now you're telling me how and why. So read along with me. This is how the dog sits on a log with all of those dancing frogs. First he climbs up onto the brown log and the log laughs out and sings along. Next he sits into a sitting position. because this is the best way to sit on the laughing brown log. After that, he commands the green, hopping and happy frogs to start dancing around the log. Finally, he sits perfectly still so he doesn't fall off and crash onto the ground. So you can see here that we have added in lots of extra information, because without that information, it doesn't make it as interesting. And you also don't tell everybody everything that's happened, because we've managed to tell everybody why he's sitting like that on the log, and that's because it's the best way to sit on the laughing brown log. And we've also found out that he does that and he has to stay perfectly still so that he doesn't fall off and crash into the ground. So now we have our introduction all about the dog on a log with the dancing frogs. So there we go. Pretty easy, do you think? So all you've got to do is look at what's in front of you and tell me what happened. But remember, you always have to have your introduction. So this is us creating our introduction now, isn't it? This is us telling everybody what happened. And you always need that first line to tell us exactly what's there. So this is how the dog sits on a log with all of those dancing frogs. So now it's your turn. I want you to have a look at this slide and you will see that there is a bunny rabbit with a chef's hat on who is cooking something. And what's he thinking about putting in his little bowl of soup that he's got there? And who else is there with him? So I would like you to say what's happening now. So you don't need to write it down. I would like you to say what's happening now. So pause the video and say what you think's happening, and then we'll talk about what your task is today. Now, your main task for today is to find 3 things in your house and put them together to create a picture. Now, I'm going to show you an example of the 3 things that I found in my house and how I put them together in a picture. And then I'll show you my explanation writing that I did for it. Are you ready? So here we go. This is a picture of my dog Bracken, and he is wearing a purple tie with flamingos on it, and he is doing something with a recipe book. So I need to think about how I would explain what's happening here. Now I know what came first and what came second and what came third and what happened because I put the picture together. So I could say that here we have, so remember you start with your initial sentence to introduce what you're doing, and that would be, here we have Bracken sitting on the sofa with a cookery book. Okay, so you're telling everybody exactly what you're going to talk about, and I'm going to talk about Bracken sitting on the sofa with a cookery book. And then I would go on to explain what's happening in the picture. So I would say Bracken is wearing a tie, and then I could tell you maybe why he's wearing a tie or how he got the tie on. And then I would tell you why he's looking in the cookery book. Is he looking to make some biscuits of his own? What's he doing? So it's completely up to you. Once you've found your 3 things, take a picture of them and then write all about what's happening in that picture. Maybe you can't take a picture of it, and that's absolutely fine. But if you set 3 things up, you'll be able to see the 3 things and then write about them. Now I'm looking forward to seeing your writing today, and I hope you enjoy this little activity today, all about explanation writing.